결과만 우수하다면 과정은 아무런 상관이 없는 것일까요? 당신이 죽을 듯한 고통과 등과 교환하여 그들을 되살리는 것처럼.
Huh. Pretty deep for a 2-star identity. Greetings and salutations, everyone. I'm Ekamac. This is Limbus Company. Yeah, it's been quite some time, and I'm sure you've seen it from other people, but just in case you haven't, there's a new E.G.O for Heathcliff. Fell Bullet. Before attack, gain highest resonance torn memory to a maximum of 7. If there was an absolute resonance, gain that plus 2 instead. Gain poise for every torn memory, gain poise count, lose every torn memory, 15% damage on critical hit for every torn memory, inflict bleed on crit, inflict sinking on crit kill. If we have ammo, gain 1 ammo 3 times per encounter. This is a single target skill, and Heathcliff's only ammo identity doesn't really care. They really don't want to give Rabbit Heathcliff any time. Rabbit Heathcliff was good once, but with how encounters are starting to stretch out, yeah, he's starting to struggle to keep up. He's still very strong, it's just he doesn't do well when he runs out of bullets. And his corrosion gains attack weight per resonance. Deal 5% more damage for every poison self, consume 5 poise on self. And it just outright deals bleed and sinking, so it's all a very messy thing. There's no power gain, but there is a poise count from uptying it. That's nice. Oh, and the passive. At highest at 3+ resonance, gain poise. Okay, so like usual, I went straight into the mirror dungeons to grind out all the E.G.O shards I need for this. Funnily enough, even though most people jumped on the idea of Heathcliff and Outis sharing way too many E.G.Os, there's also the fact that this might be a reference to the original Wuthering Heights, where it suggested that Heathcliff became so wealthy and affluent by going to war. Interesting stuff either way. Of course, the real interesting point is W-Core Outis. So, at Uptie 4, +4 charge count and gain 1 base power. Gain clash power for every 5 charge count. Gain charge count and on hit gain charge count. So a lot of charge count is what we're saying. On use, consume 6 charge count to gain coin power. If this unit consumes charge count, apply charge +2 barrier to self and 2 other allies with least charge count. Maximum 8 charge barrier per ally, 2 times per turn max. So if she uses this skill twice and somehow had the 6 charge count to do it, then... Oh, sorry, that's it. That's all numbers that we don't really care about at the moment. Inflict bind. If the skill consume charge, inflict 2 bind. So that magical 3 bind number is possible. Rip Dimension. To self and highest resonance allies with charge, apply load equal to charge. Attack skills that consume charge count deal 2.5% for every value on self to 15%. If charge is a W-Core employee, instead deal 5% to a max of 30 and expire at turn end. So she needs to have I guess 6 charge? Oh dear. Okay, problem fixed. At +2 charge and 7 to 14 charge count, consume all charge count on self to gain 2 coin power, or gain 15 charge count outright. There's something here because clearly she's gaining charge from somewhere, but we don't actually know where. Because this isn't charge count, it's specifically charge. Inflict rupture, rupture, rupture. If this skill consumed charge count, inflict 3 rupture. Gain charge, charge count. Gain charge every time this unit consumes 10 charge count in this encounter. Honestly, that makes it sound like it's not going to get any use ever. Fights just don't go for that long. And in terms of defense, base power +1 for every charge count on self. Gain 2 charge count 3 times per turn, but at least she isn't blunt weak. It's a guard skill which isn't that good though. But she could get up to 26 shield, which isn't awful, it's just not great compared with evades. So yeah, let's grab her.
열차 정돈을 시작한다. 승객분들은 모두 제자리에 착석할 수 있게.
She's extremely likely based on Rose, who was the highest tier W core unit back in Library on Ruiner. Well, let's check out what she gives us. At this tier, we just gain charge count. And she consumes charge count on her skill 2, which is actually kind of cool. Gain base power. Uptie gives her slight increase to her speed minimum. At 4 charge count, gain base power. At 6 charge count, gain clash power. Whereas 4 charge count, gain clash power. Okay, so at 4 charge count we just gain the base power, and there's a +6 for an extra clash power on top of it. That's nice. If this unit consume charge count, apply charge barrier. If this skill consume charge count, inflict bind next turn. So yeah, there's the mystical 3 bind. Passive. Gain 1 charge every time we consume a cumulative 10 charge. Actually, now that I think about it, she is burning through 6 charge count every time her skill 2 comes through, so you can expect at least 1 charge. Apply 1 clash power up next turn to charge W core employees, including this unit, in reverse deployment order. Alright. Okay, increase her maximum speed, give her rip dimension. Gain coin power, +1. Gain coin power on her skill 1, and base power on her skill 2. For resonance, one ally who has the most charge count deals 10% more damage with skills that consume 7+ charge count. That's kind of unfortunate because certain characters have it baked into consumed 7+ charge count. Not all charge using identities use that much charge.
돌아가기 위한 과정은 아직까지도 험난합니다.
Right, the thing about Odysseus, who Outis is based on, as he had as much trouble getting back from Troy as he had in Troy itself. Something about how he really offended Athena. A hollow train. A spatter of prismatic sparks flies, briefly illuminating the hushed train car of guts and gore. 3 children emerged into the enclosure as though transported inside by the light. Captain Outis, are you absolute certitude that the 3 of us should be sufficient for this task? Why ever have you decided not to involve those waiting outside? The other child asks with apparent exhaustion, but this child is not one to be swayed. No, new recruits are unfit to deal with a train like this. It's not like we're here to clean up the usual suicidal types, are we? The BS duty will only get in our way. If the passengers have retained enough sense to barricade themselves behind the train doors, then it's likely they are also retained a degree of intelligence. Keep your guards up. Today was supposed to be a day for new recruits to get one of their first tastes of field work. The child had been preparing herself to employ her stern, commanding voice against the new recruits, who will doubtless show frustrating degrees of clumsiness commonly seen with trainees on their first jobs, but the situation inside the warp train they saw through the surveillance camera was more dire than anyone had expected. Honestly, with how much hassle it is to get people off the train, you have to wonder how W-Corp hasn't gone out of business with how few people would actually take it. It might be just easier to walk. Through the camera feed, they saw a passenger dressed in a mantle of his own hide and a makeshift crown. There were several passengers playing royal guards patrolling the train entrance as well. It appeared that those who could still manage to amble had endured the eons in the train by building a new civilization with new bizarre rules of their own. The child was certain that this was too much for the new recruits, who probably hadn't even learned the basic manuals by heart, to handle. And that is why the child decided to enter this train with only L3 agents. There has been an increasing frequency of trains with unique dispositions, to say nothing of the ever-growing delays on arrivals. What are the captain's thoughts on these developments? It's because they slashed the ticket prices and expanded the economy seats. More passengers equals more bad apples among the bunch. It's hardly a surprise that we're getting stranger variety of passengers. Yet that may be hardly an explication for the increasing recurrent delays. Must be the aftermath of the incident on the train they told us not to talk about. That's why those idiots riding first class. Right, that's another Library of Ruina reference, where the library was able to pull people out of the train mid-passage. But there was also a distortion on the train, where the puppet master hijacked all the first class seats to create puppets. And they also vanished into the library, so people would no doubt be extremely frustrated at the lack of first-class protection. Enough. We have all been given a non-disclosure order. Let's not go poking the hornet's nest for no reason. I'll accept it as long as this gives me more opportunity to study art. The child had an inkling as to what might have happened. First-class ticket sales had been steadily declining ever since the incident from a few years ago. Something irreversible must have happened on one of the first-class cabins. But the children, who were but lowly employees, had no way of knowing exactly what occurred in there. Only the higher-ups at W-Corp would be privy to such information. The child also knew that employees trying to dig into such truths would be, for the wing, cause for an incident greater than the incident itself. If they're just going to let this problem fester, what will they do when the employees completely burn out? The child absent-mindedly blurted what was on her mind before shaking her head dismissively. That's enough chit-chat. Let's get started. She sighed and opened her employee manual. These thoughts don't help anyone, nor herself, nor her subordinates. Ripping space while the train is in operation may interfere with the dimensional coordinates. Once the train comes to a stop, employee hibernation pods must not... wrong page. A multitude there are, still, of clauses I understand ill. The exhausted child comments, glancing at the manual. WC, still trying to read between the lines? Like I said, enough with the chit-chat. Ah, here it is. Standard cleanup for factionalized types is an hour. We'll be cutting it close to the next arrival. Crew to positions. Let's wrap this up ASAP. The child's command is clear, concise, and effective. When a door lodged in place by a mess of tangled veins and flesh blocked their path, she swiftly commanded them to open a dimensional rift. Every time a particularly nasty passenger appeared, she gave each of her subordinates maneuvers that best fit their weapon specializations. I'll give you an extra time to absorb this gallery once we're done patching our passengers together, so let's get to it. Good. Because she knew that the smoking child did not enjoy spoiling the passengers, she was given the vein and flesh collection duty. He sang, "You're charged with clearing a path forward. Focus on neutralizing the passengers." That appears patently preferable to the work assigned to my colleague. And because she knew the disposition of the sunken-eyed child, she let him take care of battling the passengers. There might be an ambush, so keep your charge barriers up. Rip space every time you've got enough charge to tear open the barricaded doors. Thanks to the child's methodical and systematic employment of subordinates and their W-Corps issued weapons, her team usually blitzes the train cars at a much faster pace than the estimates written on the employee manual. Way ahead of schedule again. After 30 minutes of non-stop cleanup work, the child finally signaled them to stop. A decision made in consideration of their weapons' charge levels and their wielders' growing fatigue. Let's take 5. Ah, the long-awaited. The sleep-deprived child promptly closes his eyes in welcome relief. The other child takes this chance to pull out a new cigarette. The passengers of this car are all diced in interesting shapes. It's evidence that the passengers use certain cars as prisons or torture dungeons. These signs are often discovered among passengers who have created factions. Will you not rest your legs to relieve yourself of this weariness, Captain? Don't mind me. I am resting in my own way. This is just a habit of mine. No, the child wasn't resting. She was piecing together the shredded parts of the passengers. She used her weapons charges efficiently, so they won't be losing their charges anytime soon. Besides, it would take more work than that for her to need a real break. A part of this behavior was that she wanted the other children to rest, yes, but another part of it was she wanted to get as much work done as possible. That's when the child felt a nigh imperceptible tremor under her feet. She perked her ears. There were sounds of several feet rushing over to this location. Ought has been making an odd commotion from that direction. I hear it as well. Our position's been compromised. A passenger decorated with blood-painted bones shambled into their view, flinging chunks of flesh all over them, as if to confirm their suspicions. Conceited for an unfinished piece. The other child, cigarette still in her mouth, rises from her seat before a hand stops her. The child was the one who stopped her, seeing the undercharged state of her weapon. What? Don't get yourself killed swinging that undercharged weapon around. The artistic merit of my DDEDR shines only when my blood drenches its... Denied. Take a seat if you're even remotely serious about using that weapon. Leave this one to me. Violet glow dances around the child's gauntlet before a powerful materialization of force gathers around her gauntlets, almost appearing to refract the very space it inhabits. And in a flash, the fist blasts the passenger from one end to the other end of the train car, exploding its body into 1,000 chunks of meat and gore. How are you going to put that back on its seat? I don't enjoy jigsaw puzzles. The other child mutters with apparent annoyance, but this child was not one to be swayed. She turns around to give them an order, ignoring whatever complaint they had. 5 minutes are up. Let's get back to work. Every minute, every second in respite seems to pass by us in such indifferent rapidity. Yet I find this solace in hopes that our toil in the next train will consist of no more work than to teach our new colleagues the ways. Looks like I'll get plenty of time to admire the gallery while the rookies get the unfinished artwork out of my view. The child opens her mouth, about to give them a stern talking to about basing their optimism on practically nothing, before a fallen advertisement pamphlet catches her eye. 10 seconds to anywhere, is it? The warp train advertisement pamphlet endured the years, refusing to weather away despite the immeasurable passage of time. The child pulled her cap low over her face and placed the pamphlet on the seat. She looked away. No matter how much labor upon labor I endure, I can't seem to go back. Not in 10 years, let alone 10 seconds. The return journey is always so far and so unforgiving. Who knows what'll be up next time? Anyway, I'm just curious. It gives us +2. We gain 2 clash power total, and it's for 5 charge count. That's nice. Charge +2 charge barrier to self and other allies. Gain 2 charge count, and on hit. So at the moment, it is on heads hit. Alright, that's quite handy. Gain 2 coin power and 2 coin power, and it's on hit for a rupture. And +6 for every charge count on self. At the moment, it is every 2 charge count on self. Alright, yeah, that would be worth uptying if I had anything left to uptie with, but yeah. Until next time, guys, take care. I'll see you all around.
파우스트는 열차 타는 걸
할 수 있는 걸 브리핑해라. 근래 불미스러운 사고들로 표값을 인하하고 일반 승객을 늘린다더니 덩달아 정리해야 할 것도 몇 배나 늘어버렸군.